parents have a very, very strong right to participate in the IEP and have their comments be documented. So it might be that the district indicated a willingness to do something and now it's not in the IEP document, or maybe the parents indicated that something was important and they wanted it included, and it's not included in the IEP document. So this is a great question because you can have so much fun thinking about all the ways in which districts do not do a good job of documenting what happens in IEP meetings. And so, this whole notion of the locked IEP kind of makes me go berserk because it's all a product of having electronic recordation, or typed IEPs. We used to have handwritten IEPs, and believe me, there was no talk about locked. There was no talk about relevant. I mean, I'm imagining this is an LAUSD IEP.
It is.
Locked is an LAUSD buzzword. And in researching this question, I went online and I found LAUSD's own description of what it means to lock an IEP, and I found LAUSD's checklist for everything that has to be in their computerized IEP. So you guys might get a kick out of looking up, can an IEP be locked in Google, and you'll find some amazing stuff. So, okay, the idea was we want to make sure when our IEP meeting is over that the IEP is in PDF form, so it can't be electronically altered after the fact. It's not a terrible notion, but the problem is you get into this whole thing where parent gets, especially if it's on LAUSD IEP, they'll give you an IEP that's in draft form, which is illegal. You're supposed to leave an IEP meeting with a finalized document. And second of all, this whole notion that something can be locked is ridiculous because you can add to the IEP by a parent attachment. You can add to the IEP by having an amendment. And so there's really no such thing as being prevented from including your important feedback in the IEP. And certainly you do not have to wait 6 months or a year to have another meeting. That's totally wasteful. But, I just have to tell you, it's so funny. When I put in, is there such a thing as a locked IEP, I came up with, under the U.S. Department of Education website, U.S. Department of Ed answers the question, and it says, in making changes to a child's IEP after the annual IEP team meeting, the parents of a child with a disability and the public agency may agree not to convene an IEP team meeting for the purposes of making changes and may instead develop a written document to amend or modify the child's current IEP, and all that's required beyond that is that the IEP team members be informed of the changes. What you are entitled to is something called prior written notice, and if they are going to do something or refuse to do something, they have to document it in writing. So you write them a letter and you say, I want this attached to my IEP at the meeting. You agreed that I'd get extended time for tests. Please add this to the IEP or let me know if you do not intend to. And that way you'll force them to commit themselves to a position, and if they are not going to live up to their accommodation, which they probably will because it doesn't cost them anything, and that's usually where the trouble starts. If they don't write it into your IEP, you have a basis for filing for due process. So that can be taken care of, and it should not require another meeting.